everyone, it's JC from Okoto Labs, and today we're going to be modeling a tactical gear case in plasticity. Let's jump in. Select this cube and press X to delete it. And then go to the view cube and select the front face so you can go to the front view. And hold down this toolbar box here and make sure you're selected center box. Click on that and hover over the center so you can just start from the origin. Now extend out a rectangle like so. Left click once. And you get to change it a bit now with these handles. So grab this front face and let's move it out a bit to get some depth. Right click to accept that. And now we're going to press 2 to go to edge mode and hold Control and Alt to select the ring of edges over here. So it'll select all those edges you see in yellow. Now we're going to drag this handle to create a chamfer. And a chamfer creates an angled cut like you're seeing here. Right click to accept. And we're going to do the same thing. Make sure you're in edge mode by pressing 2 or selecting edge mode at the top over here. Control Alt click and select all these edges. And then we're going to fillet those to give them a rounded edge. Right click to accept that. And now we're going to select these front edges and create a fillet as well. So hold Alt, click on that, and that'll select those edges. Hold Shift and Alt, and it'll select the back edges as well. And we're going to then drag that out and create a fillet, which will create a nice rounded edge. Great, so now we have this base form, and we can start adding some details to it. We're going to go to the center box once more, and then you can see that once you hover over an object, you can snap to center faces, and that's what we want. So we're going to snap over this center face and create a rectangle like this. And you'll see it turns blue. Anytime you create an object on top of another object, it'll try to create a Boolean. You can create a new body or just actually create a Boolean, which allows you to merge things or subtract them and intersect them. In this case, we do want a Boolean, but we don't want to unify them, which is what a blue one does. We want to subtract it or difference. So we're going to drag that face backwards and have a bit of an inset there. Right click to accept. And we're going to zoom in to select those corner edges and hold Control Alt and click on one. And you'll notice that all of them turn yellow just like before. And this time in the front view, just so we see clearly what we're doing, we're going to drag it upwards. Just get a nice chamfer here. Right click to accept that. And now we're going to go to face mode. So press 3 or press this icon on the top left for face mode. And that lets you select the faces on these surfaces. Once you've selected the center face, press O to offset it. So it's going to duplicate that edge inwards proportionally. And now what you could do is select that face in the center and move it outwards. So hold that handle and press Control so you can snap and right click to accept. So let's do that again. Select the front face and press O and then move your cursor slightly. Left click once, which allows you to still modify the distance here. And once you're happy with that, right click to accept. Again, you get a new edge here that allows you to move the faces and modify it. So in this case, we're going to move the center face and move it back a bit. And you can hold Control to snap. So I'm going to snap to this edge down here. And right click to accept. And let's do that one more time. So with that face selected, press O and hover just a bit. Left click once, right click to accept. And then select this face here and move it out. I'm going to hold Control to snap to this edge. So now all those faces should be flush. Next, we're just going to give those a nice rounding. So let's zoom in, press 2, hold Control and Alt, and select all those edges at once. Next, we're going to select even more. So hold Shift, Control, and Alt, and select this top edge. And let's do the same thing for the inside edges. Shift, Control, Alt, Shift, Control, Alt, and now you have all these edges selected. That lets us just create a quick fillet across all of them. So now we can drag this upwards and you get a nice rounding effect. Right click to accept. So now we're just going to round these other edges. Hold Alt and click this one. Hold Shift and Alt. And let's continue to select those edges. And now we can just drag them upwards to create another fillet. Great, so we have some detail there. Now we can add some additional shapes by creating more lines and then using those as booleans. So I'm going to create one line here, and it creates a little guideline that you can snap to create a straight line. And I'm just going to create half. Right click to accept and press 2 to make sure you're in curves mode. Select that and press Alt X. You might have to zoom out to see what Alt X does. It creates this little handle that allows you to mirror on any axis. And in this case, we want to mirror on the X axis. So I'm just select it. Right click to accept, and you have 2 new curves that need to be merged. So select both of them and press J. And we actually want to close this top off. So let's go select the line tool, click on one of the points and snap it to the other one. Right click to accept. And now you have this light blue center, which means it's a face that you can click on in face mode by pressing 3. And then just drag this handle and you can actually get a surface or a body. And now we're going to scale that down and use that as a cutting tool. So in body mode, by pressing 4, select it and go to the front view. Press S twice to scale in screen space, and you can just use your cursor to scale. And then press G twice to move in screen space as well. You can just move your cursor around. And let's position it somewhere down here. Right click to accept. And then let's press S once more. And we're going to scale it in the X axis just to thin it out. Right click to accept. And now we're going to use this as a cutting tool. So let's position it to where we want it. I'm going to drag this outwards. And then I'm going to go to the right view by clicking on the right side of the view cube. And press R to rotate on the red X axis. I'm going to rotate it just a little bit. Press G twice to move it up. And let's go to perspective view to see what's going on. So you see this main body here is going to be cut out by this shape. So before we do that, we want to give this some rounding. So press 2 to go to edge mode. Control Alt click. It'll select all those edges at once. And let's give it a fillet. So drag it upwards. And right click to accept. Now press 4 to go to body mode. Lets you select the whole body. And we're going to select our main body here, this case, and shift select this new shape. And now by pressing Q, it'll allow you to create different types of booleans. The automatic one is a difference, which means it can cut something out. You have other options down here which you can experiment with. But for now, we're just going to keep this as a difference. So blue means the target body, and red means the tool body that'll do the cutting. So right click to accept that, and you can see how it left that shape in there. Now let's select these inner edges. So hold Alt click and apply a fillet by dragging alongside the tool. Right click to accept and press 2 and Alt click these outer edges and fillet those as well by dragging up. So now you can see we have our shape rounded out, but it's only on one side. So we want to mirror it over, and to do that, select your body, press Alt X, and let's mirror it on the X axis. Before you hit accept, make sure you choose merge halves together. Otherwise, it'll create 2 separate pieces. Press OK, and now you have one solid piece with mirrored elements. And you can do this quite often just to check where things are at. Let's select these curves up here and press H to hide them. And now we're going to create a few more details around the case. Go to the front view, click on this line tool, or press Shift A, and we're going to hover over this edge until it says center. And let's do that to the other edge, center. Right click to accept. Press S twice to scale it down. And right click to accept. Now you can press P, that'll create a pipe off of a curve. And you can barely see anything, so you're just going to have to drag this outwards to scale it out. And that's what we want. So right click to accept. And we do want to give this a really substantial fillet. So in edge mode, press 2 if you're not already in there, and then shift select this other one. And we're going to drag this handle to create a fillet. Right click to accept that. We're going to use this pipe as a Boolean shape. So let's adjust it a little bit so it's not so far in there. Select the pipe, press G, and move it in the y-axis just a bit. Right click to accept. And now we can select our main body and shift select this new pipe. And then press Q, and you'll see it turns red. So that creates a difference Boolean, and right click to accept. Now, sometimes curves get in the way, so press 2 to select that curve, and then H to hide it. And when you hide them, you can see them over here in the outliner. You can organize things and name them. For now, we're not going to organize it too much because we don't have too many elements, but you can bring curves back by pressing on this eye icon if you need them once more. Great. So now we see that this edge is a little bit too sharp, so I'm going to hold Alt and click. So I select all that edge, and I'm going to drag it upwards to create a nice fillet here. Maybe that's too far. And right click to accept. Next, we're going to create a few details on the top. And so I'll create a line that goes downwards and then diagonal and a bit to the left and then up. And we're just going to match that thickness throughout now. Don't worry if you don't get it exactly right. We can adjust by going to point mode. So press 1. Looks like I missed a point. I'm just going to snap these together to close the surface or close the shape to create a surface. And maybe this one needs to go a little bit lower. Right click to accept and move this one a bit to the left. So now you see this light blue over here, which means it's a surface, and you can press the face icon or press 3 and select that face. And now you can extrude it. Right click to accept. And you can move it as a body now. So press 4 or the icon top left. In front view, we're just going to make sure it matches the scale here. So I'm just moving it down and pressing S twice to scale it. Maybe something like this. And let's move it to the front so it doesn't cut in too deep. Right click to accept. And now we're going to select these inner edges by holding Control and Alt. So if you pull it up, you'll get a bit of a fillet. Just a tad. Right click to accept. And press 4 to go to body mode so you can create a Boolean. Select the main body and shift select that new one. Press Q and right click to accept. So now you have this diagonal detail here that we can round as well. Press 2 to go to edge mode. Alt click this top, and you guessed it, another fillet. And maybe this top edge can have a fillet as well. So select this edge and drag it upwards. And you can match other fillets by, maybe you can eyeball it, but if you click on one, it'll match the actual thickness. In this case, it didn't really work, so I'm just going to eyeball it. Right click to accept. And maybe this edge needs to be rounded a bit. And you'll notice sometimes the order of operation is important. So it's good that we did this because I'm noticing that it didn't round this edge out. So let's undo those. Select this edge and that edge. And let's see if we can fillet this. So now you have that nice rounding here. And let's try that once more. So hold Alt and select that top edge and fillet that. So now we need to mirror this over, but if we do, we'll get a weird result with the center detail. So if you press Alt X to mirror, you'll notice that it mirrors this thing in a different way. So let's preserve that. Press Escape. We're going to select these faces, and we're going to remove them and then merge them back. So select all the faces you want to extract. Press Alt J to unjoin, and now you have this separate piece. So now press 4 or go to body mode, and now select the piece that you want to mirror, Alt X, and click on the axis you want to merge to, merge halves together, and OK. So now you keep this front nice and safe. We're going to merge that back together in a bit. Let's do some of the latches on the side. Go to the right view by clicking on the right side of the view cube. Let's zoom in and let's create a box. Hover over the center and just create something that is going to look like a latch in terms of proportion. Click once, and then let's scale it in. And this time we don't want to create a boolean, so we're going to press B to create a new body. That'll just create a shape on top of another shape. Right click to accept that. And let's move that into position. So in the profile view on the right side, let's move one up here. And we're going to give these some chamfers. So Control Alt and select that edge. Select all of them. And let's drag this downwards. Right click to accept. And again, let's select all these edges and drag them upwards to create a fillet. Right click to accept, and the front edge as well. So Alt click that one and drag it up to create a fillet. Right click to accept. Next, we're just going to scale this one up to use as a cutting tool, but we're not going to delete it. So let's select one, press Shift D to duplicate it, S twice to scale it, and we're going to scale it outwards. You're going to see what we're going to do in a second. Right click to accept that. And you see we have a big one and a small one. So we're just going to use this as a cutting tool. So let's just move it inwards and right click to accept that. And we're not going to do anything just yet. We're going to keep that now because we're going to duplicate this. So for now, it's just a tool. Right now, I'm going to show you how to cut this to create more of a latch shape. So using the line tool, let's just create a bit of a shape here. Maybe it goes in like that. Press 1 to adjust these points. I'm going to snap it. So I hold Control and I hover to what I want to snap to. Right click to accept that. And let's just make sure it's centered. So select that curve. Let's just move it down a little bit. And click to accept. Great. So let me just show you what this does by moving the curve out. We're going to use this to project a cutting line into that shape. So press C and then select the object you want to cut. And you'll see it creates this red shape that's going to be used to cut right through that geometry. Right click to accept. Let's select this curve by pressing 2 and H to hide it. Great. So now you have two pieces, but maybe you want to create a little bit of a fillet or a separation so it doesn't look too perfectly aligned. So let's select one and press period. That'll let you isolate an object so you can just focus on it. And we're going to select these edges by holding Alt and clicking them. Shift click to add any additional lines. And then we're just going to give it a slight fillet. Right click to accept. Press period to exit isolation mode. And we're going to do the same thing to this piece. So select it, press period, press 2 to go to edge mode. Alt click these edges. Alt shift click these other ones. And again, before we move on, we want to merge this back together. So select this front face here, shift select the main body and press J. So that'll join them again and that'll create a solid. It's important to create a solid sometimes because booleans might not behave in the way you expect them if they're not completely unified as a solid. So now we can create a Boolean difference using these new objects here for the latches. So make sure you have your main body selected and shift select these two scaled up pieces. Press Q and right click to accept. And that'll create a nice inset for our latches to go into. Let's go to the front view, and in body mode, select these latches. Shift select the bottom one as well. Let's drag them inwards. Right click to accept and press 2 and hover over these outer edges. Shift select and alt click this top one as well, and we're going to billet this as well. And right click to accept. Okay, great. So now we have our main body finished, and we want to make sure that details are on the back. So you guessed it, we're going to select the main body and mirror it. But you see it's not in the center line, so we might have some issues. Let's just select everything and move it down the y-axis. Holding Control, you can snap to the center of the origin. Right click to accept. Alt-X to mirror. Don't forget to press merge halves together and right click to accept. And now we have one piece with the details in the front and the back. Next, we want to create a shape that allows us to open this case. I'm going to hide that curve at the top. So let's go to the top view by pressing the top side of this view cube. And I'm going to create a rectangular curve. So go to your toolbar and choose rectangle. And I'm going to hover over the center. Just going to go outwards like this. Maybe it's too thick, so I'm going to scale it and thin it out. Right click to accept, and now press C. Select your main body, and then select this curve, and right click to accept. Now let's hide this curve, so select that curve by pressing 2 and selecting it, pressing H. Now you'll see that that curve went right through the whole body and created this shape here. Press 3 and then alt click this outer edge. And move it in. Just create a bit of a difference there. Next, let's just create the handle. So go to the front view. And we're going to use the line tool to create a shape that'll attach to the top of this. So I'm going to create a line here. And just create some sort of geometric shape that you can adjust. Shift A, I'm going to create another line out here, going straight up. Press 1. Just going to make sure this is a wider handle. Maybe move this down a bit. Select both these curves, press Alt-X, zoom out so you can click on this red axis. Right click to accept. And now we're going to select all these edges, press J, and then we're going to scale it down a bit more again. Let's just see what that looks like. And again, it turns blue once it's a closed surface, so you can just go to face mode, select that blue region, and move it to create a shape or a body. Right click to accept. And let's just move it backwards a bit so it doesn't compete with this center line. Right click to accept. Press 2, and let's hide this curve here. And let's just give these edges a bit of a rounding. So Control Alt click, select all of them at once, and let's give them a bit of a fillet by dragging them down. And again for these outer ones. some finishing touches. Maybe we can just adjust the positions and some additional fillets. So I'm going to select this edge and this edge. Fillet that a little bit. And to see what we have in a different color, let's just select everything. Press M, that'll create a material. And I'm going to turn metalness down to 0, change the color to a dark gray, and preview that by pressing this top circle here that says toggle render mode. You can see the material you just created. And I'm going to adjust the roughness so it's a little bit more of a plastic. And reduce the specular down here to 0.1. Maybe darken it just a little bit more. Press OK. Now you can see it. Before we wrap up, I want to mirror some areas, and let's preserve the center face. So let's alt-click the center face, press Alt-J to unjoin, right-click to accept, and go to body mode by pressing 4. Select the main body and press Alt-X, and we're going to mirror it by clicking on this blue axis, making sure merge halves together is on, and press OK. Right-click to accept that. And let's just go ahead and delete this back one, because we can just mirror this one backwards. So press Alt-X, mirrored on this green axis, and right-click to accept. Now you have to mirror this one over too, so select that one, Alt-X, mirror on this green axis, right-click to accept. And they're separate now, so let's just select both these bodies, press J to join them, and do the same thing for the front. Select front face, second, and J to join. So now you have a little bit more detail on top and bottom. And finally, maybe we can try some text, or at least some shapes from text. So press F, write in text. And in the front view, you can go ahead and write the letter X. Press OK. And we're going to scale this down and place it right here in this corner. Zoom in. Maybe let's see if we can squash it down a little bit. Okay, great. Now let's pull this up to the front so we have a better idea of what we're doing. Move it in the y-axis. And then press 3. Select this face, and we're going to use that as a Boolean. And then hold Control Alt and a click. We're just going to round this a little bit. Right click to accept. Next, we're just going to push this back in just slightly. And before we do any booleans, let's hide this curve. Press 2 and press H to hide it, or to go back to body mode. And let's go to the front view. And we're just going to mirror all of these over here. So press Alt X, mirror down this red side. We'll right click to accept. And with both of them selected, press Alt X once more, and then this time on the screen axis. So you should have 4 now, which we can use to Boolean. Select your main body and select these 4 new X's. Press Q and right click to accept, and now we have a little bit more detail. Thanks for watching. And if you're interested in diving deeper into plasticity, check out my free Minicam course linked below. Also, I'd love to hear your thoughts, so leave a comment and I'll see you next time.